There we go.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the AutoTrader Podcast. My name is Wandile Sishi.
And I'm George Mienie.
And we got a super interesting show today. And we're not just alone. We have a special guest as well, Mr. Iain Banner, who's the chairperson of World Rallycross, as well as E-Movement South Africa. Hi, Iain.
Hi. Hello to you, Wandile, and to George, and to the listeners. Wonderful to be on your podcast.
Lovely to have you. I mean, this is not the first time we actually interact with Iain, Judge.
No.
I think we saw him at E-Fest.
Yes.
Last year. For the Formula
was it
E.
last year or the year before?
No, it was this year, actually. Earlier this year.
Was it this year?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Time flies.
Time flies.
So, Iain, just...
having fun.
Yeah, exactly that.
Well, you guys have the best kind of fun, right? You go sideways in a four-wheel drive Formula E, or should I say electric vehicle.
Yes, slideways, exactly.
Slideways. Start using that.
Should tell Hamilton that.
Yeah. So whenever we have a guest on the show, Iain, George usually does some quick fire questions, which we don't actually send to you before. So I hope people don't think this is scripted. This is going to be off the cuff, just to get to know you a little bit. So yeah, George.
Yeah. So Iain, for our listeners, just a couple of quick fire questions, and as fast as the answer comes to mind, you can just shout out the answer. So, what do you prefer, winter or summer?
Winter. Good question. Summer, most definitely.
Burger or steak?
Burger.
Book or movie?
Movie.
In terms of holiday, bush or beach?
Beach.
In terms of car, ICE, BEV, or hybrid?
Trick question.
This ice age is the past.
It answers the question. What was your first car?
A beam bug, a 1958 beam bug.
Oh, wow. What is your current car?
A BMW i3, best car I've ever had. And I've had a few.
Awesome stuff.
BMW i3. I mean, that's a few people within the EV game drive that car. It seems like a
it's. It was one of the first after the Nissan Leaf in terms of introduction, and I've driven the i3, and it's an epic car, an absolutely beautiful car.
Does exactly what it's intended to do. But yeah, so we have Iain on the show because I think it's on the 7th to the 8th of October, the World Rallycross South Africa, the South African leg at least, is going to be here. So we thought it would be really cool to just kind of have you on the show and get to understand exactly what the FIA World Rallycross is, and get some understanding with regards to why it's returned to South Africa and what to expect. But for anybody who doesn't know, can you please just give us a quick, brief, kind of description of what the FIA World Rallycross is?
Yes, most certainly. Well, firstly, as a format, it's essentially the merging of on-track and off-track racing. So World Rally Championships, well known to lots of people.
Yep.
And, of course, road racing, whether it's Formula One or whether it's Formula E, very well known. And those two were put together. And in fact, I learned this morning, it was Kenny Hansen, the father of Tim and Kevin Hansen, who came up with the Joker lap. So what you have is you have a hard surface for probably 50% of the track, and then you go inbound into the center of the track where a gravel track has been built with ramps. And so you've got a 50-50 split between the two, and then of course you've got a massive jump in the mix as well, which is incredible. And that creates all sorts of thrills, spills, and excitement. And it's just an incredible spectator sport. It really is a sport of precision. These and girls, because I'm delighted to say Clara Anderson is coming too as the only female participating in the World Championship currently. Hopefully there'll be many more to come. But it's all about positioning, strategy, tactics, and brute power. It's extraordinary. These cars are very, very quick.
Well, I mean, I read on the document that the team showed me that these cars do 0 to 100 in 1.8 seconds.
Cheapers.
Yeah, it's electric. No, there's no question about it, George. It's that instant torque, but it keeps on giving. It's not just up to 100. Very, very quick. So the power into corners, out of corners, etc., is brutal and needs to be managed carefully. And it's a big kind of. I understood today from chatting to some of the drivers, some carry speed through the corners, and maintain their average speed through that. Others are aggressive into corners with very, very heavy braking then they go into the corner and they rely on the extreme power coming out of the corner to get them back up to speed. So it's really very interesting to look at the different driving styles on these multiple surfaces. And you have to be very, very skilled. And it's no surprise that the majority of the really top drivers come from cold environments where they learn on ice, whether it's Norway or Sweden or whatever. As youngsters, whether it's karts or whether it's cars, they're having fun on the ice. And that's, a very testing environment. And it kind of sets them up for the driving that World Rallycross is.
Before we get to the actual, details of why WRX is back in South Africa or returned, I always had a question about rally that, even on dirt, because I enjoy watching the odd rally race. So it's fast, and you've got this. Kind of unknown, especially in the ones that aren't on a track. But my question is, everybody kind of like knows that going around a track, any kind of slide loses you time.
Speed,
loses you speed, loses you time. But we now see with rallycross and with rallying that the cars quite often go sideways, and it's
probably the quickest way around some of the corners. Right?
Like, how do you not lose speed by sliding? What is the principle involved there?
I'm not an expert, but essentially it's physics. I mean, you're giving up speed in the slide to point the car in the right direction, so that when you apply the power, you're facing in the right way. And that is critical. It's about the positioning of the vehicle.
Yes.
And that's something which I learned a lot from Formula E about, because people don't realize how these drivers are able to maneuver their vehicles and to make sure they're pointing in the right direction when those 650 kilowatts of power are applied. Or in the case of World Rallycross, 300 kilowatts of power applied. And it's, it's an interesting one that you mentioned, but it's very much part of the strategy.
So, I mean, I read something a while ago, and that in analyzing Michael Schumacher's driving style, that when you slowed down his cornering, that he would actually apply very, very slight slide to the car in order to get the car pointing in the right direction. And that was one of the reasons he could corner faster than most other drivers, was he knew how to slide the car just enough to do what Iain's saying, point the car, because you can't apply power in the corner as much as you can in the straight. So it's interesting, because I always thought in principle a slide loses you more than you gain.
So that's actually one of the principles that Fernando Alonso, when he was at his previous team, that's why he won the championship. He was doing something similar, except they were applying just camber a little bit. Yes. So that was kind of getting the same effect ultimately. Yeah. But that's like Iain is saying, it is just physics, and it's incredible. So this is an FIA sanctioned event, and the difference between this and Formula E is that you get ice as well as electric. Is that correct?
No, this is full electric. This is a full 100% electric. It's the reason we got behind it, is the fact that the cars are now electric. We are very much purpose-driven in all we're doing through Go Green Africa, through our Africa's Green Economy Summit, Formula Student Africa. We've got 9 universities on board now, building cars under the direction of Warwick University in the UK. That's to promote e-skills. The racing for us is a celebration at the end of all of that. So it's a fundamentally important part, because it's got a commercial piece to it. It's got the entertainment, which obviously talks to the fans, which is critically important. So it's 100%, Wandile, it's 100% electric.
For anybody who's never seen like electric racing, what is the experience versus traditional racing? Because I went to the Formula E this year, and for me it was completely mind blowing in terms of the experience. It's different. So for somebody who doesn't really know what that's like, what would you say in terms of that experience?
So let's talk what people regard as the downside. Because the cars don't make a lot of noise, they do make noise, but because they're not revving like a Porsche or a Ferrari or a Red Bull Formula One car, they reckon that sort of knocks a lot out of it.
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't all, because you still have the electric whir, let's call it, but you can communicate with the people that are close to you. You can debate, discuss. There's a lot of strategy involved. And just going back to the earlier point about torque, and this is the most exciting part in the terms of the difference. The reason you've got to position the car in the right direction is the torque is instant. So you've got the electrifying pace that George referred to of 0 to 100 in 1.8 seconds. That's faster than a Formula One car. It's faster than a superbike. So you can't do that with ice. So it brings different strategy into the mix, which is very, very interesting.
In terms of the event this year versus last year, for somebody who went last year, what can they expect that's new this year?
Sure. So COVID took care of the last several years. The last staging was in 2019. So number one, it's an all-electric car. And the interesting thing is the car that's being raced for the last 2 races in the World Championship, they call it the 1-0. It's a different vehicle to that was developed by the teams early in the season. They had some technical challenges, a car caught alight in Linden Hill in the UK. So FIA went back to a tried and tested electric vehicle, which is the one coming here with the drivers. These cars are almost identical. And that means we are going to see the driver's skills coming through. We're also potentially going to see teamwork, which is very interesting. If you take the Hansen brothers, who are obviously on the same team under their father, all legends. I think at the moment, Tim is lying 5th in the championship and Kevin's lying 3rd, or it's the other way around. But in 2019, Tim was going for the World Championship and Kevin covered him, basically going into the first corner. He got in the way of the other cars. He was his bodyguard. And that's a bit of strategy that we should look out for. Teams working together to help one another. Johan Kristoffersen, the world champion, is in the lead at the moment. His car's had an edge over all the others, and his driving's been incredible. But it's going to come in Cape Town down to out-and-out driving skill. If I may say, unlike Formula One, I think Max Verstappen is brilliant, but he's in the best vehicle. And I think there's another 3 or 4 drivers who potentially could be performing as well, or certainly giving them a hard time if they were in the same machine. And the other cars, are coming along. They're improving. We're seeing McLaren starting to show pace. Ferrari and Mercedes coming along a bit. But bottom line is Red Bull's got the package. So you've got to beat the whole package. It's not just the driver. Down in Cape Town for World Rallycross, it's going to all be about the drivers. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So, what are the package costs and for attendance and, what's on offer?
So thanks for that question, George. We've decided to make it, even though it's an international world championship, we've made it incredibly affordable. 275 Rand for a general admission ticket for a day, for the full day, believe it or not. And for a grandstand seat, 325 Rand.
Oh, wow.
You can get a ticket for 4 for 990 Rand.
You can't get like racing that cheap.
You can't get better than that for a local race, never mind a world championship. Now, what can we expect? A full day of entertainment. So the pivot, obviously, or the centerpiece is a World Rallycross Championship, where there are 3 heats on Saturday and on Sunday with a final thereafter. So 4 rounds of World Championship racing. Then we've got 2 exhibitions from Brian Cupper, the extraordinary, enduro bike jumper exhibition man. Brian's coming in to entertain the fans. We have drifting twice through the day. For those who love drifting, go to Grandstand E. That's where you'll get your best drifting views. And then we've got our local RX series, which is running as well. So it's really a full day's entertainment with great food and beverage. Then we have Red Bull providing sims. You can come in, and if you're the fastest racer, you're going to win all sorts of fabulous things, like meeting the Hansen brothers, hampers, etc. So your chance to come and partake in the sims and show how good you are. It's all to play for.
100%. I mean, AutoTrader is going to be a race partner this year at the event. And I think there's a question more so for you, George. This is the second time where we're going to be involved in some sort of racing series. Why is AutoTrader getting more involved in the racing scene from your perspective?
Well, I don't know if it's a case of getting more involved in the racing scene. Part of our outlook on sponsorship and partnership is we want to sponsor and partner with the number one. Because we are the number one. So that's why we do the Festival of Motoring. It is the number one consumer event in the country, and we only do one of those, and we'll put our back into that. Similarly with Formula E. And now similarly with World Rallycross, it's not the number 2, the number 3. Not that there's anything wrong with number 2, 3, and 4, but it's just a case of wanting to partner with the best, and only do that once, and rather do it properly, if that makes sense.
And Iain, I have a question for you. I mean, you've been involved in the electric space for a while now. This is clearly a passion of yours. Can you give us a little bit of background as to why anybody should care about, kind of the transition and adoption of EV vehicles within the country?
I can tell you my own adoption, if I might, just for a second. When I by chance went to a BMW dealership to see a friend who owns it, and I saw a little sardine can on the floor, and I inquired about it, and it was the i3. And they said, "Do you want to take it for a drive?" And I said, "Yes." And 200 meters later, I bought the car.
Oh, wow.
It's a change in terms of experience. It's a brilliantly engineered vehicle. The visibility is amazing. There's no drivetrain, so you've got more space. It's just a superior experience. And as I say, I've had some really quite serious and super motor cars in my life. But this is the perfect package for me. The torque, I drive the car every day, and every day I'm excited in the vehicle. I remember the first time a Boxster came up next to me and started revving. I was on the phone, and I didn't really know what he was doing, because I hadn't expected somebody to want to sort of dice like robot to robot. It's not really my scene. But I put my foot down and I left him behind. And when we got to the next track, he wanted to know what I was in. And I said, "No, I'm just going. This is a fun little EV." Change is coming. It's happening. It's happened in the rest of the world. We're behind the curve. We are constrained by ridiculous government taxation on electric vehicles. Mm-hmm. We should be progressive like Norway is, where they actually incentivize you to get an electric vehicle. The notion that there's a massive amount of carbon footprint around electric vehicles has some legitimacy, in as much as they say, I've done the research, about a third of the life of an electric vehicle car, you're actually in a carbon deficit, or you're effectively in a carbon positive environment. Once you've had it for a third of its life, you move into a carbon negative environment. So you're into zero emission turf, taking on board what it takes to build not only the battery but the car as well. And what people don't talk about is that's when you are having a single use of life of a battery. But nowadays, they can recover about 98% of the battery. So the reuse of the vehicle for the second time reduces that down to about 16.5% of the life of a vehicle, and so on and so on. And those efficiencies will come through. There's all sorts of innovation that's underway. It's still a very new technology that was held at bay for over 100 years. And what people don't realize is that when we've got 1 million cars on the road driving around with batteries and with the correct inverters, you've got a mobile generating fleet, a mobile generators, that will start feeding and generating houses, etc. And cars will start being charged with solar in the roof, which is happening in places, and get charged like will happen in Singapore through the roads as you drive seamlessly, etc. So it's a very efficient piece of technology. It's a beautiful experience, and I've certainly concluded that it's most definitely the future.
I mean, we spoke about this on the last week's show, Iain, and that is, besides the, impact on the environment, which is positive, and as you say, people are being short-sighted, perhaps about, second life and reusability, and not looking at over the life of the vehicle. But besides that, if you just park that as an important factor, just the technology itself is simpler and better. Even if it was carbon, even if it was neutral to ICE vehicles, even if it had no benefit, it's just a better technology. And I think for those two reasons, what you say is important to take notice of.
I feel so outnumbered right now. I think
You
I'm the
are
only one who doesn't have. Who doesn't?
You're a Lewis Hamilton fan, and you like ICE vehicles.
I like all vehicles. I love cars, Joe. I keep telling you this.
But he likes the past, right?
And he's so young. He's so young. Look at Iain and I. Iain and I are like old fogies.
You know, you're right. So maybe I need to change my ways. I need to get with the times. Maybe I'm just living in the past. For anybody who doesn't know, so the event's happening on the 6th to the 8th. Is that correct, Iain?
7th and 8th, Saturday, and it's a double header, 7th and the 8th. 100%. Tickets available at Web Tickets. And as I said, it's really been priced. So I wanted us to ram the place full of people.
Yeah.
And we encourage people not to miss the opportunity. Whether you're a racing fan or not, this is a cool day of entertainment, I promise you. The other thing we're doing is we've got My City buses for free taking people to the race. There are two places where you can park your car. You can go to rallycross.co.za, get all of the information. But there's a Century City parking place for your cars, and there is another on top of that. And then you get on the My City bus, and you get dropped outside the venue, and you have no hassles with car parking. We wanted to minimize the traffic, make it easy, make it something that everybody can enjoy. And yeah, don't miss out. It's going to be special. Web Tickets.
So bring the whole family. I think it's going to be something amazing. Plus it's in Cape Town, which is, I love being there. I don't know how you feel about it.
I grew up in Cape Town, so I can't say anything negative about it. Yeah.
Negative about it, 100%. Thank you so much for joining us again, Iain. I'm sure we're going to see you there. We're going to be taking lots of content there as well. So I'm looking forward. I think it's definitely the future of motorsport in South Africa. I'm glad it's happening.
Get yourself to Rallycross 2023.
100%.
Thank you, gents. Lovely being with you.
Thanks, Iain.